When a crisis hits, like a pandemic or a massive market shift, all the old rules for business just get thrown out the window. And for a lot of companies, that included performance reviews. They just stopped. But what if that chaos, that disruption, actually gave us a chance to find a simpler, more powerful way to measure performance that works not just in a crisis, but all the time? Well, that's exactly the big idea we're going to unpack today.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle this thing called the performance paradox. Basically, why just giving up on reviews is a huge mistake. Then we'll look at how a crisis just pours gasoline on the fire of already broken review systems. That'll lead us to the core of this explainer, a new metric called the Performance Promoter Score. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of how to use it, how to stop people from gaming it, and finally, why this is way more than just a temporary fix.
All right, let's set the scene. When COVID-19 hit, organizations went into full-on survival mode, and one of the first things that felt, well, kind of pointless was performance management. The thinking behind that feeling is captured perfectly in this next quote. And that, right there, was the dilemma everyone was facing. I mean, if everyone's working from their kitchen table and salaries are frozen, what's even the point of a formal review? Some really big companies even just gave everyone the highest possible rating and called it a day.
This became the million-dollar question on every leader's mind. But here's the twist. The research behind this explainer says that even asking this question is dangerous because the knee-jerk reaction to just abandon the whole process, it actually creates way more problems than it solves.
Yeah, if you forget about pay raises for just a second, you realize performance management is actually a lifeline during a crisis. It's how you make sure everyone knows what the new strategy is. It's how you document tough decisions to avoid legal trouble down the line. And maybe most important of all, it's how you spot the top talent you absolutely cannot afford to lose when things get tough.
So, if we know that ditching reviews is a bad idea, why did it feel so impossible to do them during the crisis? Well, let's dig into that. Turns out, a major disruption doesn't create new problems for performance reviews. It just exposes how broken they already were. The source paper breaks it down into 4 key pressures. First, all those goals you set at the beginning of the year, suddenly irrelevant. Second, filling out 10-page forms? That's just impractical when your team is already underwater. The standards also become meaningless when market forces are completely out of your control. And finally, it's just plain difficult to see what people are doing when everyone's remote.
The old tools were just too clunky, too slow for this new reality. What we really needed was something simple, something flexible, and something that was actually useful. And this is where we get to a really fascinating solution, borrowed from a totally different part of the business world.
So to fix this mess, we needed a whole new tool. And the answer, believe it or not, comes from the world of marketing and customer loyalty. It's a metric you've probably encountered dozens of times without even realizing it.
I'm talking about the Net Promoter Score, or NPS. It's all built around that one simple question. Huge companies from Apple to Amazon use it because it's fast, it's effective, and it boils down a ton of customer feeling into a single trackable number.
The mechanics are really straightforward. You sort customers into 3 buckets. Your biggest fans are promoters, the folks who are just kind of meh or passives, and the unhappy ones are detractors. Your score is just a percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors. That's it.
Now here is the brilliant leap. What if you took that exact same logic and applied it to employee performance? The result is the Performance Promoter Score, or PPS. It starts with a nearly identical question, but the real magic is in the 2 follow-ups. Why, and what would it take to raise the score? That's where you get the rich, actionable feedback for actual development.
And just like that, this simple approach solves those 4 big challenges we talked about. It's flexible enough for any job. It's so convenient it takes less than 5 minutes. It's standardized so you can actually make fair comparisons. And it's comprehensive. It doesn't just measure what you did, but how you did it, capturing things like teamwork and collaboration.
Okay, so this is way more than just a clever theory. It's a real practical tool. So let's get into how you would actually put the Performance Promoter Score to work to get meaningful results.
The research paper lays out a few key guidelines. You want to calculate a net score, just like with NPS. You absolutely need to get 360-degree feedback from multiple sources. And you use the results for both the tough stuff, like pay and promotions, and, this is critical, for coaching and development through quick, frequent check-ins.
Let's look at a real-world example from the source material. Here we have a manager who was rated by their 19 direct reports. You can see right away, 16 of them were promoters. They loved working with her, while only 2 were detractors. So, you do the simple math, about 84% promoters minus about 11% detractors gives you a net performance promoter score of plus 73. And using existing NPS benchmarks, a score that high easily puts this manager in the top quarter of performers. All of a sudden, you have a clear, data-driven picture of their real impact.
Now, let's be real. Whenever you create a new metric, especially one that's tied to things like bonuses and promotions, there's always a risk people will try to game the system. The good news? The folks who came up with PPS totally saw this coming.
This is a classic idea in economics called Goodhart's law. Basically, the second a measurement becomes a goal, people will find a way to hit that goal, even if it means destroying the thing you were trying to measure in the first place. You can't just roll out PDAPs without thinking through these human tendencies.
And that's why the source material provides a clear playbook to stop it. To prevent stuff like begging for high scores or colleagues agreeing to swap 10s, you enforce strict anonymity. You actually read the open-ended answers to spot fakes. And you make sure the list of raters isn't just a hand-picked group of the employee's best friends.
So, we've walked through the problem, we've explored this elegant solution, and we've even looked at how to protect it in the real world. Let's zoom out and bring this all together.
Here's the most important takeaway. While it took a global crisis to show us how badly we needed a tool like PPS, its value is permanent. The need for performance management that is simple, fast, and actually meaningful, that's not going away. This is an innovation that is absolutely built to last.
You know, ultimately, this whole idea challenges us to rethink all the complex systems we build. We spend so much energy on these elaborate processes, but maybe, just maybe, the most powerful insights come from the simplest questions. When we ask, hey, would you recommend working with this person? We're not just getting a score. We're measuring trust. We're measuring collaboration. We're measuring impact. And that might just be the key to unlocking a level of potential in our teams that we never even knew was there.